Howdy folks, Jamboree here. Guess what? It's my birthday today! Yay! That's right, I've turned 25 today, and to celebrate, I'm going to review a movie about a birthday wish that makes a man's day turn to a complete nightmare. It's called Liar Liar, and it was one of my favourite films as a child. Liar Liar is a fantasy comedy about a sleazy lawyer called Fletcher Reed, who gives more attention to his work than his son Max. After he doesn't end up going to Max's birthday party, Max wishes that his dad can't lie for a whole day. This leads to total madness for Fletcher, who has an important case to defend that will depend on lies to help him win. Despite my nostalgic attachment to this movie, I will admit that there are some problems with it through a critical perspective. There are things I didn't notice as a child, but totally picked up on as an adult. First of all, Max's wish doesn't really match up with what Fletcher's curse ends up being. He wishes that his dad can't lie for a day, which does happen, but the curse also makes Fletcher involuntarily shout out the truth at random. The wish was for Max's dad to not be able to lie, simple as, which meant he couldn't free-willingly say anything dishonest. There was no mention of uncontrollable fits of truth-spilling. Of course, if the film did stick to the wish, then Fletcher could only squirm and refuse to speak at all, which wouldn't help the writers achieve the jokes they wanted in the film. Because of this, a lot of the comedy feels forced. Fletcher's spontaneous announcements of honesty don't make sense in the context of Max's wish, and this made it hard for me to laugh at some jokes because they came across as unnatural and forced. If the wish was written differently, then the comedy would have been much stronger because there would have been a consistent grounding for the film's universe. Second of all, who was this movie aimed towards? Seriously, I actually don't know. It baffles me. Sometimes it's light, fluffy, and family-friendly. Then suddenly it becomes mean-spirited, profane, and a bit rude. I'm actually surprised that my parents let me watch it. Sure, it can be goofy, childish, and silly, but it's also laced with some very adult jokes that are far from subtle. The adult content in this movie is pretty loud and highly suggestive for a film that is supposedly for family audiences. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not condemning adult content in general. I'm not saying that rude comedy is inherently a bad thing. It just comes across as out of place next to all the child-friendly scenes.
Except my arm has really been bothering me lately.
Oh no, Dad!
Oh yeah, it's becoming a claw! Nothing can stop the claw! Run, boy, run! Save yourself!
This is a really clumsy execution that again makes me question who this film is intended for. Adults and teenagers will find the child-friendly scenes to be too corny. Heck, even I found some moments to be too sappy, pandering, and cringy. The over-whimsical music doesn't help matters, while parents may feel uncomfortable letting their kids watch it due to the profanity and very suggestive sexual content. Because the film bounces between being saucy and mean-spirited to cheesy and playful, Liar Liar ended up being a very tonally confusing experience for me. It's like this film wants to be two movies at once, a silly fantasy comedy for kids and an adult satire of sleazy lawyers. Pick an audience for your movie or it doesn't work! Despite the forced comedy and indecisive tone, I can't say that I dislike this movie, and it's not just because it's from my childhood. There's one thing that makes this film still entertaining despite all its problems. Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey is one of those comedic actors who has the unique talent of translating cartoon acting into live-action performance, something that is actually very hard to pull off. His rubber-faced expressions and stretchy, gangly limbs help him to convey very animated performances. This film showcases these skills and it actually works in its favour. His wacky performance elevates the jokes immensely. Jim's contorted body movements and wild energy helps reflect the manic suffering that Fletcher is going through. It's hilarious watching him express his character's misery to this level of exaggerated madness.
Red. Red. All right? Now focus. The color of this pen is the color of this pen is
It's a fantastic display of varied emotions, from frustration to sadness, excitement to anger, that results in comedy gold. The character of Fletcher himself is inherently unlikable, but I think that Carey's wide-eyed, childlike acting actually makes him a little sympathetic at times. In addition, even though I think that Fletcher's random bursts of honest confessions don't make sense in the context of The Wish, I think that The Curse is a great way to test Fletcher as a character. Not only does it challenge him to be smart and use it to his advantage sometimes, but it also makes him face his own subconscious truths, tap into his conscience, and become self-critical as he develops as a character. To conclude, Liar Liar is a fun movie that utilises two essences of comedy, the truth and misery, while showcasing the stretchy, rubbery, bouncy acting style of Jim Carrey. Sure, it can sometimes get annoying, corny, cheesy, forced, and tonally confusing, but when a scene works, it really works, mainly thanks to the skills of Jim Carrey. I'm going to give 3 birthday strawberries out of 5 to Liar Liar, and if you enjoyed such films as The Mask or Dumb and Dumber, then I think you might like it. I've been Jamboree, and I hope you enjoyed my review. If you did, then I encourage you to like, subscribe, and share. I'd also really appreciate it if you could support me on my Patreon. In the next episode of Jam Bites, I'm going to review Thunderbirds. Cheerio, folks!